Hello, brother. How are you this evening?
I'm doing okay, sister. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Surprisingly, all right. I yesterday was our sister's birthday, and so I thought today we would talk about loss, love, and laughter. So
Live, live, live. What's that? What's the three things? Live, life, love. No, live, laugh, love, but
sure,
also loss.
but
Yes.
I mean, you can just do any alliteration. You can do Lynn, life, lizards.
All right. All right. So let's be serious. Okay. So
Sure. So yesterday, like I said, it was Bina's birthday, and coming up on that, there was a lot of emotions tied to it. And so I just had some days where it was super sad. Our nephew was also, her son was also very sad, kind of going up into things. Our mother, just feeling all the feels, really feeling that loss. So yesterday we were trying to figure out like, what do we want to do? How do we want to approach this? Kind of dreading it a little bit because there's so much emotion tied to it. We end up doing just some of the things that we would do if was present physically here with us. So we went to a movie and then we went to eat and we spent the time just kind of reflecting and thinking about, just our life and the time with her sister. I had a few people that contacted me that were sharing memories, and I just was filled with love and laughter. And although I do feel that loss, I feel the presence was so strong, and I think that we had such a great family that I was just supported in that love and loss. And so I don't know how you spent the day since we were in two different states, but it was a lot better than I thought.
Bina was always she's happy. She was a happy, we laugh and we have fun. And I think honoring her would be us trying to do just exactly what you did, like just going out and enjoying life.
Yeah.
And you did it, and that's good.
Yeah, it,
I
it
made
was
I
very natural, very organic. It wasn't like it was forced. And I think that for this past, what is it, 9 months, that it's been a journey, but a lot of it's been steeped in just knowing that the three of us, the three musketeers of us, just had a really strong unit. A friend of mine, I was talking about my sister, and he said, I think this is the first time you've used past tense. And I said, it doesn't feel natural to use past tense, but I sometimes deliberately do it because if I don't, then it invites more questions. I said, but my sister's presence is so strong. It's such a part of my life. I see it in you. I see it in our kids. I see her everywhere. And so it's very organic to do present tense, and past tense is unnatural for me. So I always found that, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I get asked often if I have siblings at work while I'm teaching because they get all personal with their questions even though
Mhm.
they're not supposed to, but they do, and I will entertain those for the most part until they start asking me really personal questions. But yeah, somebody did ask about sibling. Have I had any siblings? And I did say I have two sisters, and I
Yeah.
said one is not with us on this earth anymore, but I have two sisters. So
Yeah.
I think that she will always be to some extent present tense, like you said, because
Yeah.
her presence was so strong and she's just there, like
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah. And I think actually I don't think I know that brings me comfort. And even though there are peaks and valleys, I'm down deep in the valley sometimes. I pull myself out with the peaks because I think we talked about this in the intro, is that Bina is such a positive force that being the oldest sister and having two boys, and she had her son first. And I remember I think one of the boys hurt themselves, and I'm freaking out, pulling my hair out, going crazy. And she's like, Lynn, stop. You have boys, buck up. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, right. And then that's just who she was. And so I think that I always say that you can visit the valley, just don't stay there.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think that she would want us to stay there. And so just, the presence makes me, it makes me happy to be both of your sisters. I always feel honored to be or to be your sister. I feel honored to be your sister, to be Bina's sister. And it was always something that I always wore with a badge of honor.
Yeah, me too, except for that time, those times when we hated each other
I mean, you were a pain
growing
in
up and
the
we're getting fights. But other than that, yes, always very, very proud to be, yeah, a sibling of both of you, both very smart, capable young ladies. Yeah, Venus creativity was just flowing out of her each pore of her body,
Yeah, just amazing.
and in so many different ways. Like it's a good chunk of who I am.
Oh yeah,
My interests and things that I do
Mhm.
was because of her.
Yeah, I was talking to another friend and I was talking about my brother. I was like, he's 10 years younger. And then my friend said, why don't you just change his name to my brother? He's 10 years younger, because I always say that. And I was like, well, it's actually informed some of the things that we did because of the fighting and, being out of the house. And you're just a pain in the butt little boy that's driving us crazy. But when it was the time came, always rally for you, always be there for you, always supporting you. I
Yeah.
know you always thought that you had three mothers, basically the three witches. What was that off of?
You
With the
guys share. You guys are sharing one eye.
yeah, we're sharing one eye. Exactly. And it's trained on you. That's the fun part.
Yes, yes. Always trained on me. Um,
The boy, yes, for
the
sure.
boy, dun dun dun, the little boy at that.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it was thinking back, though I, had my times when I was away from the house growing up.
Mhm.
When I was there, I knew that I was loved. I knew that I was
Yes.
cared for. I knew that somebody would have
Mhm.
something silly to say or do, and that we would always laugh. And that's just what family time meant to me
Yeah.
growing up, and still does to that matter. It's we have fun.
We
We're a
do
fun
have
family.
fun. We're a very fun family. There's so many memories that we have. I always tell people, like, dating or doing whatever, my family's loud. Like, we're very loud people,
We're
and
loud people.
I should say we are unapologetically loud. We love life, and if don't have any music playing in a store, because somebody's going to be singing and dancing, and
and
that's
and,
just
and
who we
dancing.
are, right? It's
Yep.
just coming out of our pores. We're extremely loud people. uh, And so, right, when you think about that loss, just not being able to have those are hard, but I take comfort in all of the memories. So it's not just like it was, sometimes, no, it was all the time. Even when we were miffed at one another, we still found some light and joy, whether it's Bina and I talking about you, or you and Bina talking about me, or whatever it is,
Right.
we always found something. And then the
Some
three
way,
of us
somehow.
coming together.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, when I think about that loss with Bina, and then how it's more geared towards that laughter and that love and just appreciating those times, it just kind of makes me think about other losses that we've touched on in this last four episodes now. It's our fourth episode.
Ooh,
And
look at
and
us.
how do you move into more of that space of laughter and love and appreciating whatever experience you had for whatever length of time it was, and pulling that positivity out of it. And I think it's interesting that it's such an organic thing to do with Bina and that situation, but it's less, it seems to be more challenging in other situations. And I wonder if that's because there's still a lot of hurt and pain that needs to be separated out of that. I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, that is interesting. But I mean, I try to look at it like this. Like live, and then we don't anymore. We go back into that,
Wow, that is
whatever you want to
so
call it,
positive.
however you describe it, whether you're religious or not, we go back to that state of not being alive anymore.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, it's sad when you lose somebody and they're gone and you're never going to like physically be with them like that again,
hmm
you know,
hmm
but I know that at some point I'm going to go back to that place also, you know.
mm,
And so then you have the religions that are like you will see your person again when you get up, when you cross the
hmm
side, or all of these different, you know, or you get reincarnated into something depending upon your point of view of that. But I just try to be okay. So I got to spend some time with this awesome person while they were on this plane
hmm
of existence,
hmm
and it was great. Bina was fun. Love other people that I've lost in my life. I definitely miss them still, but I try to stick to the I let's remember the good times. Let's remember the fun that we had, the things that I learned with that person, the experiences, the memories, all of that, and just really not try to focus on the lost part as little as possible, and think about more of what you gained from them. You
Well,
know,
so
maybe the
when I
lost
when I
gains them.
say that, I think about I was more, and I appreciate that, and thinking about it in terms of like relationships, right? So those people aren't they're still here on this plane. They're just not in my view side. I mean, my view,
Yeah,
but moving towards the hurt, the disappointment, the frustration, and then recognizing that that experience with that person. Um, Helped you to grow, helped you to realize some things that hopefully will inform you and make you a better person. Obviously, for like if we just took our marriages, for example, if we were to look at that, we've got four beautiful children out of that, and they're hopefully going to contribute to this world. And so without that union, those four beings wouldn't be here. Even though the relationship itself wasn't fantastic, obviously, because they would still be intact, but there were elements of it that were good. And I know that in your marriage there were good times, and
yeah,
then in mine there were good times, and appreciating, like I just think about moving to a space where you appreciate those times, you honor those times, and letting the pain, the hurt, the frustration just sit where it needs to in the past because it's not serving you. And
right,
that's what I'm thinking. And loss can be a relationship, loss can be a job, loss can be a dream. And I think about, like you want to do something and you have your heart set on it and it doesn't work out for you. Well, what's that other path look like? What did you learn from that experience that's going to inform your future? And so if we just kind of tie it back to even like we were talking about with our sister, being her sister, I think has made me a better person. Because she would have these amazing conversations and make me think of things and see things from a different perspective. And I can say that with my marriage, that there were things that happened there that, I mean, it's taken a couple of years for me to appreciate how I came out of that and how I think that I'm a better person because of it. How, I've lost jobs and I have to thank God for the fact that, I don't have that job anymore because I was able to move to something else, meet new people, have different experiences, and again, become like hopefully a better version of myself. So just what I'm basically saying is taking that loss and focusing more on that, the love part, the honoring part, the being thankful and grateful for the experience and then moving on. It's hard. Don't get me wrong, but
no, yeah, I don't think anyone would think that it's easy if having lost
mm,
somebody.
yeah.
But yeah, it and even with Bina's death, it took a while for me to get to where I could just think of the good things. Like I would think of
Mm.
the good things, and then that would make me miss her, you know,
Oh,
and so then I would be sad. So
oh.
over time, you just start to just think of the good things, and then you know that she's still there. Like I don't miss her like I did in the beginning because
Hmm.
I feel her presence. Like I know that she is around. I know that she's there. I know that every time I sing a song, whether it be a like an 80s tune or something or a show tune
Or
from some
great.
Broadway show or something
Hmm.
like that, that she's singing with me. Like it's a duet, if not more, unless there's more than me singing, then it might be a trio or whatever, but she's always there. And so I can think of the things and talk about her and smile because I know
Hmm.
that she's there. And I know that I mean, we have a different take on this because she was, you're older than her. So some of what she knew
Ah,
probably came from you, but you guys were so much older than me that a lot of
so
what
much is
I,
really a lot.
as
I
I
mean,
was
that's actually
growing up,
triggering, just
what?
rude. So much. I mean, that's rude. That's a rude
Well,
thing.
I meant, yeah, fair enough. But what I meant by is like, there's such an age gap that gap
Hmm.
I mean it means a lot less now but back
Hmm.
then when I
Of
was
course.
3 and you were 13 like
Right.
that's a significant difference for at that age.
Yes,
So I
absolutely.
watched you too, and a lot of what I've realized I liked, and probably because I like it because I saw you two doing it. I saw you
Mhm.
thing. I see you were an artist too. Bina was an
Mhm.
artist, so drew. I think that's
Interesting.
why I saw you guys would draw, and I was like, that's cool. I want to try that. And so I just did it. And it became a hobby that I still have an easel sitting in my living room right now
Uh,
because I paint, and that's a part of my like release process or my
interesting.
good space is doing those sorts of things. We sing, we dance, I do
Hmm.
all of that stuff because you guys were doing it all the time. And so I was
Interesting.
like, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to sing songs and dance and do stuff. And so that is our family. And we are still like that. Separately, we're like that. And together, we're even more like that. Like I am who I am because of you two.
Well, I mean, I think that's actually a high honor. Saying that kind of reminded me, like, when you bring someone else into the family and they're like, you guys have a secret language. And usually our language is rooted in pop culture.
Yeah,
And so we could say one thing, worms, Roxanne, it means I don't understand you. And so, just that translation. And it's sometimes I think that it could be a little intimidating for somebody to come in, and because our unit is so strong,
could be.
that they're just like, but when you find that person that either gets it immediately or is willing to learn it, you're like, okay, you're my person.
Then
I
you
love
know.
this.
Yeah, then you know.
Yes,
That's
yes,
it.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I brought all of my previous girlfriends slash wife. I brought everyone to meet you all, and
Hmm.
everyone it takes it's a little shocking because
Yes.
we do love each other so much and we are so
Hmm.
happy and we do all of these things, and I'm going to their houses in return and meeting their families. Never, it was always a quiet sort of, we sit and we do it, and I was like, are you guys really like this all the time? And they would be like, yeah. And then they'd come see
It
they would
is
come see my family and be like,
fascinating.
oh, that's why you asked. I get it now.
Yeah,
Because
it was
yeah.
always fascinating. I remember when we moved back to Oklahoma and people were like, why is your family so happy? And I was like, because we like each other. Like these are my best friends. I love being with my family.
Yeah.
I always found it interesting and moving forward, kind of reflecting back on a couple of episodes when we're talking about dating, and I have my little list. That is something that's important to me, that family and being part of someone's family.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I think that that's the one space where you can truly be your authentic self, and these people love you unconditionally. And what a feeling to be able to come in from whatever's going on in this world and know that you have a core group of people that just genuinely like you and love you. And I was fortunate to have that growing up with our family unit. And I think I was seeking that when I got, partnered up and whatever. And then when, just kind of talking a little bit, redefining that or expanding the definition of loss, when I realized I lost that fantasy, that it was this fantasy, it was this dream. It was disappointing. It was hard because that's something that's super important. That's a value of mine, is having closeness with family. And I hope that when I find my next partner, that that's something that they also um, embrace. Actually, I know that they will have to, because I won't, I couldn't imagine joining
Yeah.
up with someone that's like, oh, well, we're not going to do family time. Okay, well, bye.
That is one of your values, and it turns out I never thought about it until you were just talking, but that's definitely one of mine too. If the
Mm,
families don't vibe, like with the if
mhm.
my girlfriend or whatever doesn't vibe with their family, then I'm always like, what's wrong with y'all? Like
Yeah,
what's going on? Because that it doesn't it I need that. And I don't think I've ever actually had it now that I think about it. And that's something that
yeah.
I definitely am going to put on my list as well, about the being family being important. And then, you know, I will say that you said that we, are our genuine selves, family, you should be like that.
Mhm.
Compliments that I've gotten from siblings of previous relationships have said it was so great that that person, they seem like they were their authentic self around you. You
Oh,
let that
wow.
let them be that. And I think it's because that's how I grew up. I grew
Mhm.
up being me, and no one, you guys never tried to make me not me. You
Right.
let me be me, whatever it was I did, whatever sport I was playing, whatever activity I was doing, you were always like, yeah, great, do that. And
Yeah.
so I now go through my life. I don't put on different hats for different things.
Mhm.
I myself 100% of the time. And I think it's because I got to do that growing up, and I never was ridiculed for it or put down or anything like that for being the ridiculous me that I am.
Mhm.
And you too being the ridiculous too that you were, like, we all just loved it. We loved each
That's
other. We loved all of our
interesting.
stuff. And so I took that out into the world with me.
Hmm. That is very curious. Right. And so it's interesting that I have different groups of friends and different partners that I've had. And I think that is something that is intriguing and fascinating by some people. And I never thought about it before, but I don't tend to put on any, what you see is what you get. This is
Yeah.
it. And so they're thinking, well, something else has to happen. No, no, this is it. That's all. That's it. And yeah, that's it is that energy. Someone had asked me, do you act like you just walk through this world like you can do anything? I said, because my mom never told me that I couldn't.
Yeah.
She may have, she never put guard or any type of boundaries or stipulations or labels on us. It was like, "Oh, you want to try this? Okay, well, let me see how I can make this work for you." And
Yeah.
if it's something that either we lost the passion for, or maybe you didn't have the skill set for, then there was a gentle guiding to something that was more appropriate. But I don't remember ever hearing no from either, our mom or our dad saying, no, you can't do that, or no, that's not available to you. I've never heard of such things. And so I live my life like that. I've raised my boys like that, that they're, whatever you want to do, just try it. I mean, it may not work out for you, but you're going to be better off than you were before, because at least you
Yeah.
tried it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
You're gonna learn something from the experience. So go do it.
so when you talk about being your authentic self and showing up and putting that on your list, I think that's really important, and it's not something to take lightly. Is when I think about like going to work, and sometimes you have to fit within that environment, into that culture. And so in order to survive and thrive, you do have to make adjustments. So you have to have a very high emotional intelligence to be able to read the room. But when you're at home, that should be your place where you can just be your, like I said, your authentic self, your natural self. And I don't want to come into my home and not be able to be my authentic self ever again. I want
Yeah.
my partner to embrace everything of me. Um, if I'm eating my mud or drinking my mud tea, or if I decide I want to go to a five-star restaurant, I don't sleep in any place that has an INN in it, and they just know that. But I also can get down with the people. So, I mean, I want to be able to be all facets of me, which I always been able to do with my family. And so bringing a partner in, I have to have that same space and grace to do that.
I watched Bina on stage
Mm.
for the first time. I don't even know. I don't even know how young I was at that point. But I saw her get up there and do that thing.
Wasn't she awesome?
And
She's such a
she did
great
what she was
actress.
fantastic. She's just so natural
So
at doing that
natural.
that I was like, I want to do that too.
I never wanted to do
Like that's
that.
what I'm saying. Like a
Ever.
lot of what I am and the things, the experiences that I've had were
Huh.
because of what you guys did.
Wow. I
And
never
I
knew
and
that.
I and while I carry the loss of Bina, I know that, like I said, every time I'm singing a song, every acting, even and but I never am not me. I don't think Bina has ever not been Bina. Like when she that I ever saw. She
Mm-mm.
never, even if she was sad, she was sad. If she was happy, but she was
Yep,
always her. And where you said you change a little bit for work,
I
I
do.
disagree with that.
Oh,
I'm
you just
still the same person. And if that culture doesn't swing with me, then I leave.
well, that's the thing though. So, right, if the culture doesn't swing with it and I can't be more of my authentic self, then I do choose to leave. I do try and find an environment that is more aligned with my values. So I think that the older I've gotten, the more I have been open to that. In the past, I just, kind of assigned that this is a job, and for 8 hours they pay me to be this way. I think that with the changes in society, in our culture, and thank goodness, I hope the listeners are going to be okay with this. Thank goodness for millennials and Gen Z, because it's a different world, and I'm so grateful to be able to embrace that. Like, you know what? If I can't be more of my authentic self in this environment, I'm leaving, because life is too short, and I don't want to spend 8 hours being something that is not authentic to me.
Yeah.
I want to be my same quirky, nerdy, weird, you know, whatever, high maintenance self.
Yeah, and that's it. That is definitely something that I picked up from you ladies growing up, that it's okay to be yourself. It's
Yeah.
okay to
Yourself is pretty cool. You're a
because
pretty
you
awesome
yeah, it turns
person.
out yourself is pretty cool. But
Yeah.
it's when you try to change that or be something other than that, that's when things start to mess up.
One of the
So
things
my
that, oh no,
friends,
sorry,
I
go
know
ahead.
I don't, the people that I associate myself with, they're just as most of them are just as nutty as I am, and those
Right.
ones, those core ones, they are still my friends decades later because they were able to be themselves in front of me. I was able to be myself in front of them, and the vibe, the energy levels matched, and we're good.
I think it's a couple of things I was going to say. I think it's funny that when you do have friends that didn't grow up with that available to them, and you model that behavior and you just are who you are, how their walls and how all of that exterior veneer kind of falls away, and then you get to the core of them,
Yeah.
and they're like, it's kind of like testing the water, like, oh, what's going to happen? I'm like, literally nothing. Nothing is going to happen if you show your true self. If anything is going to happen, you're going to get an amazing friend, because I could be a really good friend.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you're fake, I can be a really great, uh, what is it, acquaintance with you. I can
Yeah,
do
and
that.
yeah, a distant acquaintance
I could be a
is what
distant
you're gonna get.
acquaintance. I think, and the other thing I was going to say is that one of the things I always, how I raise the boys is like, no one's better than you. You're not better than anything else than anyone else. You just are different. And I wouldn't allow to date while he was in high school. It was just something that I don't know. I think there's a couple of there's pros and cons to it, but I was really cautious about it, because, and he was like, well, why? And I said, because when you're that age, and you probably have more insight into this, when you're that age, you don't know who you are. And I wanted the boys to have an opportunity to have a firm foundation of who they were and what their core values are, without someone else assigning that to them. Because if they don't know and they have different values than our family, then who knows what's going to happen. I wanted them to have a firm foundation, then you can date, because I don't need anyone else trying to define who you are other than you. Be
Yes.
yourself.
Yes, completely agree. Brains are not fully developed. They're still getting in hormonally and and physically, still getting used to their bodies and their minds during that time. And yeah, it's it's the 25 or so is when the brain is supposedly finished developing, but I don't
Mm.
necessarily even agree with that.
Well, I don't know if
Um,
nobody's going to wait till they're 25 to be dating. What is
well, no,
this?
I don't. I mean,
The
I'm just saying that
40-year-old virgin?
there's a lot of time for
Yes. Yeah.
all of that to happen. And yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. That's why we have these like the suicide rates and things that we do
Mm.
for those younger people is because they don't know who they are, they
Yeah.
let other people
Yep.
tell.
And
And
I
then
was not going to have that
oftentimes that is
happen.
not a positive thing that they say. They say you're a whatever, you're a, whatever negative sort of thing. And then some people will just put that on and wear it. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, that's what I am because that's what
Yeah.
they said.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And it's, people will think there's shock and interest when I tell them that I didn't date until I was in college. But I think that I also had a firm sense of self, and I still have that. Like, um, I don't subscribe to this philosophy that someone defines who I am. I literally know who I am, and I'm good with that. I'm still
Yes.
growing, still learning. I'm open to all of that, but I pretty much know who I am.
But I'm me. Yeah, I am me,
Yeah, I'm
and
me, and I
let's
like
see
me.
how that works. Let's see how that works together or not. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. That's I would hope that that's what everyone kind of gets to, but no, some people, even adults our age and older, don't still
sure.
are like, who am I? I
Yeah.
need a partner so they can tell me who I am,
Ooh.
you
Yeah,
know?
well, then that, and with that, I thank our mother and father for raising us in an environment, encouraging us and giving us that grace and space to be our authentic selves. And I also appreciate the core people that we have in our lives that offer that up, and we can have those authentic conversations with them. And I hope that, as we move forward in the world, that we do impact other people and let them know that, hey, this is a safe space and a brave space for you. Literally nothing will happen that's going to hurt you if you open up and be your authentic self around me, unless you are the Dateline killer, and then I'm scared. So don't do
So
that.
so until you got to the Dateline killer part, that is that is my job. My job is to
Mm,
create a safe space so that these students can ask me whatever they want, they can say whatever they want, and we have these conversations. I just never even thought about that. That's an extension of me
interesting.
growing up the way I did. Is my the reason that I love my job
Wow.
so much is because that's what I do. I I I want people to be themselves and to be able
I
to
love
ask them
that.
questions. And it just so happens this field that I'm in, that's a very important part of it,
That's
building that
awesome.
safe space. And so they get a little extra silly, Clayton, in the beginning. On the first day or two of a session, they get a little extra silly of me just so they can see he's not this stuck up adult like all the other teachers
Hmm.
are. He's kind of cool, or he's silly, or he's stupid, whatever it is. It's I throw them off their I throw them off their game. They think
Yeah.
they know all the adults because all the adults act a certain way, and then I come in completely shred that. And then they're like, oh. So the first couple days, there'll be people who don't want to look at me, don't want to do, because it's all this embarrassing information. But in less than a week, I will have them where they're saying penis, vagina, they're saying the words, they're asking me all the questions, and we're just learning together.
Yeah. And growing together. And
That's what
you're
our home
like,
was like.
that's what our home is like. And then if you can, like I said, positively impact someone else, to allow them that grace space to be brave, to be safe, and to like themselves, that's a wonderful thing. Good for you.
You
I
know,
love that.
I mean, down to I was helping with an after school program with another organization, and I was doing cartwheel and round offs in the hallway with this
Wow,
with this young lady who's a
you are
gymnast. But
10
I was
years
like,
younger than me.
"What's that?"
I said, you are 10 years younger than me.
All of a sudden, that
My
difference
brother, who's 10 years younger than
seems
me.
big again. Yeah, no, it's that. Like, if I can do it, if I can, I'm going to try to get to their level early. And
Yes.
then
That'd be
I
great.
then over the course of the time that we're together, that I'm going to slowly bring them up to my level. So when we're talking about young people, that's that, and having these conversations, um, for the high school, it's relationship stuff is what we talk about. But yeah, being honest, I tell them that when I, training to learn this particular curriculum, it helped me see that my marriage wasn't healthy.
Hmm.
Know that. I didn't see it. I didn't get it. But now because of that, I do. And so they're always like, that's weird. But then they're like, hey, so when you figured this out, what happened? Like later on, it becomes just a part of the conversation. It's not
Right.
weird or whatever anymore. But I think they recognize that I opened myself up early on.
Yeah.
And so then eventually, it may not be immediate, but that reciprocation will happen at some point. And then we're just grooving. We're having a great conversation. We're talking about all sorts of stuff, whatever they want to talk about. And that, whether that be at work or with my friends or, wherever, I bring I brought home everywhere I go. Like, that's just it.
I love
That
that.
I say that I'm my authentic self all the time is because I'm gonna I'm gonna do whatever I need to do for the job, but I'm not going to sacrifice any part of my humor, any part of my anything to get a paycheck.
I love that. I think
Money's
that's
not
great.
money's not worth that to me.
And I love that. I will say, yes, I'm leaning in more to that. I appreciate that. I want to end this by saying, you know what? I love our family. I love every person in that family. Happy birthday to our beautiful sister, Sabrina Bell. And we're
Happy
going to
birthday.
continue to live in your presence and be thankful for what you gave us to help us be the best versions of ourselves. A couple of things that I think that we would be interesting to explore is that list that both of us have created. And I want to hear a little bit more about your work with the kids and how you're able to draw them out and help them to be the best versions of themselves. But we're about out of time. So I guess,
Already?
yeah, I know, right? So I guess we'll ring off here and I will say good night to you. And I love you, brother, who's 10 years younger than me.
Wait, 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 wait. Can I say it now?
Yes. Say
Okay,
it.
so I love you too, sister. And for all you listeners, subscribe, like, and follow. I did it. I finally
You
did
did
it.
it.
It's real. All right.
All
On that
right. Good
note, love you, sister.
night.
Happy
Love you,
birthday, other
brother.
sister. Kisses. Love you. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.